Hey, what is going on everyone? Well, we are back for yet another video today, and before we get into today's video, I have to thank API for sponsoring today's video. Thank you very much. And what we're going to be talking about today is, how do I care for my fish? By no means am I going to sit here and tell you that I'm an expert. There are people much smarter in this industry than I am. However, I'm going to share with you today how I personally take care of my tanks, and maybe you can learn something from that today. So, let's get into this. Can you comment below? Let me know, do you use any API products? And if you do, which kind do you use? So we're gonna go through a few of my favorites today, and I'd love to know what you guys use. Now, I'm always asked, hey Chris, how do you keep your water so clear? In fact, in my last video, I even had that same question again. Well, to start, you have to have good filtration, right? But there are some chemical additives that you can use to also help clear out cloudy, just grungy looking water. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about the process of how we treat our tap water before putting it into a tank, as well as the importance of testing your water. You would not believe, from the time I started testing my water to how much better and more vibrant my plants started to look, and as well as the fish. I mean, just in general, how much healthier and how much better my fish are doing now that I'm actually paying attention to the parameters of the water and making sure that those fall in line with what they should be. We're gonna start out and we're gonna take a look at the specific tank that we're gonna be talking about today, and that is my Betta tank. The tank I'm talking about is this guy right here. This is one of my favorite tanks that I have currently. If you notice, I have an Anubias and I have a rosette sword, and then right there that is called a crested fern or a crested java fern. And then I had some temple compacta up here, and if you notice, it's starting to fall out and break away, and I'm thinking, I'm not really sure why that is. There is some new growth on this piece up here. We're probably gonna break that off and actually plant that, see what happens with that. But great tank, I absolutely love it, and the neons and the Betta, they also love it as well, and they get along very well. So these neons have actually been with Bettas before, so I want to kind of say that they're used to it maybe. I don't know if they actually get used to it. However, they don't fin nip, they don't do anything like that. They actually do really, really well together. So we're going to actually talk about this tank today. When you're selecting a water test, you should really consider one that tests those common things within water, right? Things like nitrates and nitrites and ammonia, right? Those are the three things that you always hear about. There are other things that you have to be considerate of, like one that I did not realize until recently. I had a problem with the pH. I have had to change completely from filling my tanks with regular tap water to pre-treated water from the local fish store, looking at API's Freshwater Master Test Kit. This test kit is actually an all-in-one kind of test kit that you can pick up, at your local store, or you can find links below for all of these products. Now, let's talk about each stages of this, right? So ammonia is created by fish waste, dead plant matter, things of that nature. There is a nitrifying bacteria that exists in your aquarium that will take that ammonia, consume it, and its byproduct from that is actually the nitrite. Nitrites are also very toxic to your aquarium. So there's a second bacteria that will take that nitrite, consume it, and the byproduct from that is what's called a nitrate. Nitrates can be naturally removed from your water with plants, such as hornwort is a good nitrate removing plant. However, the best way to remove those nitrates is with a water change. So make sure you're doing your water changes on a regular basis. Figure out what the levels and parameters of your water are and find a cycle that does well for your tank. This tank that we were looking at today, I actually do a 30%, about a 30% water change once every 2 to 4 weeks based on what the actual test results look like, and this thing is looking fantastic. So they make all kinds of products for your aquarium. Things like AccuClear, like this particular tank right here, it does not have a filter in it. Well, it does. The filter system is actually an under gravel filter, so it sucks all the water through the substrate, filtering it through the substrate, and then pushes it back up through the carbon cartridges using airflow. Well, because there's not a whole lot of filtration, if you will, I like to use this product from API called AccuClear, and you can actually add this to your tank weekly, and what it'll do is it'll take the small particles of matter within your tank that make your tank cloudy, will clump those together and allow it to be actually taken by the filtration system. Another thing I like to use is what's called algae fix, and algae fix is actually something that has fixed this tank. I think you guys remember I was telling you about how this particular tank at one point had a huge algae bloom. This curtain behind me wasn't there. Little Max Robert had torn it down and the sun was just beating down on this tank and there was a huge algae bloom. And listen, algae in your tank is bad in large amounts. It will actually compete for the oxygen with the other animals and plants that are in the tank. So algae can in fact be bad. It can suck all the oxygen out, causing your fish to die. So this piece of driftwood right here was actually just covered. Everything you see underwater was covered completely with algae. I started using this algae fix, and if you notice, this piece of driftwood is no longer covered in algae in any way. You can see a little tiny piece of algae down there, and that is all that is left. So this algae fix really works, but everybody in this tank looks really happy. So looking at this tank overall, like I was telling you earlier, we have some plants in here. So one of the things that I also use, and I've used this actually for a long time, and that is simply because I do not have a CO2 diffuser in any of my tanks. I've actually been using the CO2 booster from API for quite some time, because it does actually add carbon to your tank in a very easy liquid form. It's got a measuring cup on top, and CO2 is a very, very core component to plant growth and just overall survival. So I have been using that for a while, and if you notice, look at how green and vibrant that Anubias is. But everything in here is actually looking really good. So if you notice your ammonia level is kind of high, you can actually treat your water with something called Stress Zyme. What Stress Zyme is this is actually a shelf-stable live nitrifying bacteria which you can put into your tank, and it will help your ammonia levels come down. What I do is I actually use this in my tanks weekly. Make sure you check out the links below in the description and go pick you up some products. You can find these things. I personally have bought these at PetSmart, places like that. So you can find this online. You can find it in PetSmart, you can find it on Amazon. Make sure you go pick up some of this, and thanks again to API for sponsoring today's video. They have a whole array of food products, pond products, algae products for your pond, Betta food, which I actually feed the API Betta pellets to that Betta, and they absolutely love it. In fact, it's a nice little food that doesn't overly bloat when you put it in the water. If you've ever noticed some pellets, when you drop them in there, they will swell up. Well, you have to think about the fact that when a Betta eats that and it goes into their stomach, that's what's happening, is it swells up. These particular pellets don't swell it in any way, so it's actually really good for the Betta. You know, another cool thing about Bettas is that they actually breathe oxygen from the water, but they also have another organ called the labyrinth organ, which means that they can actually surface to the top of the water and pull the oxygen from the air and breathe it just like you and I. Did you know that? Comment below and let me know. Did you know about the labyrinth organ? And can you name one other fish that uses the labyrinth organ? I can. In fact, I have one in one of my tanks, but we won't talk about that right now. So comment below, let me know what other fish has the labyrinth organ. Hopefully you went on to learn something today. I will tell you, I love fish keeping, and once again, I am by no means an expert. So I will never tell you how to do it, because the last thing I ever want to do is give false information, wrong information, or do things incorrectly. And I'm a firm believer, there's always someone out there that's smarter than you. So you should always open your ears, listen to what they have to say, and research it on your own. So make sure, before you take any advice from anybody, make sure you do your own research. I'm just a YouTuber. Actually, that's not even true. YouTube's not even my real job. I just happen to like to keep fish, and I've kept them for a long, long time. If you have not subscribed or you have not followed me on Instagram, please do that now. And once again, make sure you find those links to those API products that we discussed in today's video down below in the description. And finally, make sure you comment and let me know what API products you use and how you like them. So, with all of that, we will see you next. Alright guys, well hopefully you enjoyed that video. If you stayed tuned to this point, you're actually getting a sneak peek of what the next video is going to be. I've had multiple people ask me about the Paludarium build. Well, I'd like to tell you that yesterday, Pyrotoad came over and we finished the Paludarium build. And I'm just going to tell you, this thing is sick. So I wanted to give you a sneak peek before the next video. So make sure you subscribe and make sure you turn on the notification bell so you know exactly when this video gets posted, because I am telling you, this thing is sick. So let's see. You can see the aquatic section. That's about it. And let's take a look right inside of here.